Hey guys, welcome to another game from the TSL. This particular game is from the recent weekend tournament that happened, and it is the finals of that tournament. We're looking at Strelok in white, Terran at the 7 o'clock position, versus Tarson, who's also Terran, yellow Terran. Let's call it the 10 o'clock position. Now, don't forget you're listening to Vol, and I am commentating on the TSL, but this particular tournament that I'm commentating on is just like a miniature tournament that happened over the weekend, as I said, and it doesn't count towards the final TSL tournament. It's only sort of, in terms of people's standings in the top 48, just they get, this is what I understand from it anyway, they get extra points on the iCup ladder ranking before the actual round of 48 starts. You'll have to correct me on the forums if I've gotten any of that wrong, but that's my understanding of it at least. Anyway, we've got Strelok here in white. Last time I commentated on Strelok, I mentioned that he was a Bulgarian player. That's incorrect. Thanks for correcting me on that. He's actually from the Ukraine. I also mentioned that he's in Team Excello, which isn't true anymore. He's actually joined Meet Your Makers, which is abbreviated to MYM. And Tarson is a player that I'm not too familiar with. He's spawned there in yellow. I understand that he's a Polish player, but other than that, I don't know him too well. This is the first game that I've seen from him, actually. I know that he did beat Artosis in the earlier rounds of this tournament to get here, but now we're at the finals, and it is Tarson versus Strelok, and Strelok, very well-known Terran player, probably one of my favourite foreign Terran players. Really like this guy. And straight away we see Strelok actually deciding not to build a barracks and instead going out for the early command center. And I find this a really interesting build. It's starting to become common anyway in Terran versus Terran. What you do is you get your command center around about 14 supply, I think it is. And Tarson is not opting to do that, so unless he comes up with some kind of rush or other way of really preventing Strelok from doing this, then Strelok's going to have an economic advantage straight away. But notice that Tarson is actually scouting in the right direction. By the way, this is Angora crater if you haven't noticed from the creeps. And Tarson is actually going to notice what Strelok's doing straight away, so we'll give him an opportunity to prepare something. What I often see against this build, if it's scouted early enough, is people coming in and rushing with a lot of SCVs and Marines as soon as possible. Alternatively, they might drop Goliaths in the back of your base or build Wraiths. We'll see what Tarson decides to do soon. He's managed to successfully slow down that command center though by just chasing away an SCV. Now we've got, looks like a second Marine coming through. Tarson might be coming in with a couple of Marines and a Vulture, but I don't think that's the best bet because Strelok will be putting a bunker down as soon as that barracks is finished, just to protect his choke point. And that's the right way to go. So I think things looking quite strong for Strelok. He does strike me as the kind of player who would be pretty good at defending this sort of thing. I mean, he wouldn't have chosen this sort of build if he didn't feel confident that he could defend anything that Tarson would throw against him. But here we've got a double starport going down, so this is what Tarson's counter strategy is going to be. 2 starports going down, so he's going to get those Wraiths in as soon as possible, sniping away the SCVs as they're building the defensive armory and academy is what you call it. And I'm not sure if he's going to be cloaking those Wraiths straight away. He might be, but I think this is a fairly solid response from Tarson. If he can get enough SCV kills and really get himself some momentum, he might be able to counteract the fact that he's really losing out on economy. We've got 1 Vulture coming in. It just got a little bit stuck there with the Marine almost entering the bunker there, and just reduced to a sliver of health, and that secondary Marine was able to come in and take it out. So unfortunate for the Vulture, no real kills there. But soon those Wraiths will be upon him, and we'll see how this works out. Look at that. Strelok has actually decided to build an armory, and he's cancelled his factory shop add-on. So he knows something's up. He knows that Tarson might be going for Vultures or might be going for something else that he needs Goliaths for. And in this case, it's the right response. He's also getting a starport, so possibly planning on doing some drops quickly. Factory add-on for Tarson, though, definitely wants to follow those Wraiths up with some tanks, and I think that's a good idea. First 2 Wraiths are out now. Let's see how much damage they can do. Strelok hasn't actually finished building his academy or armory yet, so what Tarson might want to do is just try and snipe away SCVs trying to build those 2 constructions and get rid of them as soon as possible. Sniping the SCV who's building the starport now sniping the SCV that's building the academy, and the armory is finished. Those Goliaths will show up fairly quickly and actually manage to minimize the damage that Wraiths are doing. So fairly quick response here by Strelok. I'm liking Strelok's play so far. I'm actually liking both players' play so far, so long as he can just keep those Wraiths from being... keep them useful. You've got to prevent them from just becoming obsolete as soon as your opponent gets Wraiths. You've got to find new ways to just work around the Goliaths and just keep it up. Now the Goliaths have appeared, so those Wraiths are not going to be able to continue their assault. And Strelok definitely looks like he's in firm control in terms of the economy. And notice that Tarson hasn't actually decided to go cloak. He hasn't got cloaking for the Wraiths, so that's going to deny him an opportunity to actually continue his harass here. I note also that if he had gone for cloak, then he would have delayed the amount of Wraiths that he could have gotten at that point, but I'm sure it probably would have been worth it actually, just to get one add-on there and get cloak in, because he could be continuing his harass right now and picking off some more SCVs, and the longer you delay it, then the less effective killing SCVs is going to be, I think. Now coming in again, just sniping them off before the missile turret completes, but the other missile turret's already completed to cover him, so again, just not really as effective as Tarson would have liked, I think. Well, he's going to have to come up with a different plan now. Perhaps, I mean, I think he's getting an expansion of his own, but it's very, very late. Strelok's had his expansion up for a long time now, and he's really starting to see the benefits kick in. He'll be able to build a lot more tanks than Tarson has. So let's just hope those Wraiths perhaps can do a bit of damage. This is interesting. Strelok is actually building his own Wraiths in response to a double port Wraith build, and is getting cloaking himself. So this is actually a really, really interesting play. I actually think it's quite clever, because Tarson's probably not expecting that. He's actually stopped building Wraiths because he thought that Strelok would be able to keep the Wraiths out of his base, but he's then not bothered to cloak because he thought his Wraiths have been countered, and Strelok's actually going to capitalize on that by building his own Wraiths, cloaking his own Wraiths, and even though he'll only have probably half the number of Wraiths, he'll still be able to have the advantage because his Wraiths will be cloaked. So this could actually turn out to be really, really interesting. We'll see what happens here. Tarson getting his own armory, but I believe that'll probably just be more for an upgrades kind of thing. I'm not sure if he's expecting any Wraiths from Strelok. Two of them up now, I've got a third on the way. Interesting that neither player has really decided to push out to his opponent's base. I think it's a stage in the game where defense is a lot stronger than offense, and you really got to wait for some forces to kick in before you can really feel confident about moving out and actually taking control of some of the middle ground there between the two bases. Strelok now attacking with cloaked Wraiths, and this will be a shock for Tarson because Tarson doesn't even have an academy. He doesn't even have any turrets. He's got Wraiths, but he can't see Strelok's Wraiths, so this is actually a brilliant move by Strelok. I'm really loving this. His Wraiths are actually doing more damage potentially than Tarson's Wraiths were, because Tarson just hasn't even bothered. He hasn't even expected that Strelok would do this, whereas Strelok knew there was something coming after he expanded. And Strelok now pushing in with his ground forces just to follow up with those Wraiths. He knows that the tanks can't really do anything to move out, so he thought, may as well bring my own tanks in and just perhaps set up a contain the entrance. Meanwhile, Strelok's actually taking the expansion at the bottom right position, and Tarson's landing his barracks there, his scouting barracks, and he might actually start building some marines there to harass that expansion, so that'll be interesting. Strelok's Wraiths have actually run out of energy now, and they can't be cloaked, so it's time for them to leave. He's actually lost a few of them, but good work by that Wraith fleet. They did a great job. I think that Strelok has really wanted to set up a bit of a line, a kind of a lockdown wall with those tanks. I'm surprised he's not sieging them. Maybe he hasn't researched siege. Surely he's researched siege by now. Strelok unloading his barracks and moving his marines out because he's noticed that Tarson is building a single marine next to his own command center, so that'll be no problem for Strelok. Moving his SCVs in now, so Strelok will soon be on 3 bases, Tarson on 1. So I've got to say that I feel that Strelok is in firm control of this game. By the way, this finals match